So, Dr. Fiegl-Ding, we're to continue our conversation, and we're still on the air. Tell me about what you know about Lambda, about this Lambda variant.
And the Lambda variant is a new variant. It's still not a variant of concern yet. It's still a variant of investigation. And the question is, how dangerous is it? We really don't know. It's so early. We don't have enough clinical studies on Lambda. Lambda is one of those big, big question marks. But it has the hallmarks of potentially a really dangerous one because it has lots of bad mutations. It's been found in several countries as well. Whether or not it's faster than Delta, there's one way to know. If it starts replacing Delta with increasing frequency, then you'll know it's faster than Delta.
So it's just Darwinian.
It was faster than any other virus because it was replacing all the other strains like wildfire.
Yeah,
so we haven't seen Lambda to replace Delta at a high risk pace yet.
Yeah, so it's just essentially a Darwinian process. Where is the Lambda right now? Has it popped up in the United States yet?
It has popped up in the U.S., but it's very rare. We don't have a good assessment. It's many countries around the world, but again, there's many variants that will pop up. It has not been rated as a variant of concern. There's a variant of under investigation, variants of interest. Those are pop up, dime a dozen. But for that to become a variant of concern, we have to see some real smoking gun, see some, fire in the theater kind of moments before we shout on it. And that's in certain ways, that is a very subjective thing. Like WHO declared Delta a variant of concern back in early May, first week of May. US CDC didn't declare it a variant of concern until mid-June, June 15th, a whole month and a half. And I think we lost a lot of time containing Delta because WHO said it's bad. WHO says, put your mask on. And CDC is like, nah, we don't need to do that. It's not a variant of concern. No, we don't need to do that. The WHO has a different standard of care than we do. And CDC in certain ways hand-waved for an extremely long amount of time. And now here we are. So I'm obviously on the precautionary principle side, but I think, precautionary with data. And I haven't seen really that much data on Lambda yet. So let's be patient. Let's not jump the gun. It's not like we don't have a wildfire right now, and it's Delta. The same thing that controls Delta would control Lambda. But we just have to, our main problem, it's kind of like fruits and vegetables. Everyone knows you need to eat your fruits and vegetables. Most people don't eat their fruits and vegetables, right? Everyone who smokes knows smoking is bad, but they still smoke. A lot of this comes down to behavior and behavioral economics, not just epidemiology. And this is why I'm a behavioral health economist as well, because I know that in the end, in society, you need carrots, and sometimes you need sticks to make sure people do what they need to protect themselves. And right now, we need to start using sticks more to really stop the epidemic.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hang on for just 1 minute, and we'll be back with you on the other side here, Dr. Fiegl-Ding. And welcome back. We're talking with Dr. Eric Fiegl-Ding, the epidemiologist and former faculty member and researcher at the Harvard Medical School, about the coronavirus. Speaking of Lambda, you mentioned that the Lambda variant, is just popping up in a few places. It hasn't been identified as a variant of concern. We still need to learn more about it. But looking at viruses and their evolution through a kind of a neo-Darwinian lens, it seems like, on the one hand, a virus would always want to, a deadly virus, would always want to mutate in the direction of becoming less and less deadly, so it would have more and more hosts and a greater chance of transmission. Yet that's not what happened with smallpox. Or maybe it is. I guess smallpox wiped out Native American societies in ways that were way beyond how it did European societies who had been living with it for 500 or 1,000 years. Clarify that for me. How do viruses evolve in relationship to how deadly and how contagious they might be, and how might that inform us in expectations with Lambda and Omega, and going all the way through to Omega, going forward with new variants with regard to this virus?
Question. The old saying was that viruses will become less deadly. That's not always true. Like with SARS coronavirus, it's really been sobering for a lot of the virologists who've said that previously. I think there is truth that a virus can't be too deadly. Like, for example, Ebola and some of the other, like MERS, Ebola had a 50% mortality. MERS, which is Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus, like 6-7 years ago, was about 35% fatality. If you got infected, your fatality was 35%. That's a little bit too high for it to become a pandemic. The perfect virus for pandemic is extremely contagious. It kills a decent number of people, but not enough that it creates a braking system. And if you're at 35% mortality, it creates a braking system against it spreading. You need it to be asymptomatic enough and mild enough people that it keeps going, but severe enough in the remainder that it really cuts them down. In terms of way, that's the combination of SARS-CoV-2. And Wuhan was perfect at that moment because no one had any immunity. It was like basically a virus that arrived in, just like the Europeans brought it to the New World. No one had immunity, and it ripped through the population. Now we obviously have some immunity from a combination of natural immunity plus vaccines. But then this gives way to Delta, which is much more contagious, more severe, but also very one-dose vaccine evasive. What we used to have, one dose used to be like 75% efficacy. Now one dose is less than 30%, 18%, in fact, for AstraZeneca one dose in one. And, of course, two-dose, very evasive now. No longer 95% efficacy. We're talking about 60, 70%, and one study showed 40% efficacy. That is how you survive, and not necessarily being more deadly, but more evasive, but still keeping your, deadly / more severe properties.
You being the virus.
Crossing into 35%. But that, if we had a 35%, it would be like bubonic plague bad. But in certain ways, even at the 2% CFR that we are seeing, 1%, the actual infection fatality ratio, including the asymptomatic, was about 0.6. That is enough to do everything that is done to us in the last year.
Wow.
And now Delta variant is 4 times more severe among the unvaccinated. 4 times. As in, if one person went to the hospital before last year per capita, 4 times that now for Delta. And this is where Delta has taught us it is more severe, and it is the 2.0 pandemic virus. And we cannot rely on just it will become less severe over time. I think we should just be really, really cognizant. This is still going to be with us for quite a while and very dangerous.
Yeah. We have a little less than a minute before we're going to hit a hard break here. It seems to me like the CDC has gone gun shy. You mentioned how, they missed a few months of time with the Delta variant. And a lot of our listeners are saying, we never should have stopped masking, for example. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. I've been saying that forever. The moment CDC announced it in May, I was shouting at the rooftops. I was shouting on CBS News that CDC made a grave mistake. Now everyone says, oh, yeah, CDC mistake. Oh, back then, a lot of people didn't want to say that. But I've been saying CDC's been making a grave mistake from the very beginning. And it's because we know asymptomatic transmission's been there. Now, Singapore data shows there's asymptomatic transmission, there's mild transmission among the vaccinated. The proof was there in the pudding. It just, if you had looked for it, it was there. And CDC just kind of like put its head in the sand like an ostrich and just ignored all those data. And I think that's the gravest
not a good
concern,
thing.
and that's why it was a big mistake.
Dr. Eric Fiegl-Ding, you follow him on Twitter at Dr. Eric Ding.
I mean, do we even need to do a commercial for the Steph store? I mean, the shirts are flying off the right. Look at this. Look at it. Get your face
Look
up
at
there.
that.
Get your face up there. Look. We have them for Team Pfizer, Team J&J. We are all team vaccine here. We have amazing.
That's right.
And you can get it on everything. Right, Chris? Not just shirts.
Bath mats, shower curtains. You can get it on art, a clock. You can get
Duvet.
a selfie bomb on a clock.
We have Stephanie Miller swag. We have sexy liberal swag. And, of course, all the vaccine shirts. Get it now. StephanieMiller.com. Whee!